I'm Mackenzie Taylor, 32, founder of Spectrum Tech Solutions. When I arrived at my brother Ryan's wedding, I was excited to celebrate until I checked the seating chart. Table 19? That wasn't with family or friends. Following the map, I discovered my assigned seat tucked beside a supply closet near the kitchen entrance. My confusion turned to hurt when Ryan and his fiancée Cassandra approached with smug expressions. "You're set up near the service hallway," Ryan smirked as Cassandra added. "Tech types like quiet." So I took out my phone. Cancel the contract. Before I continue this story, let me know where you're watching from. Hit that like and subscribe button if you've ever had family underestimate your worth. Trust me, you'll want to see how this unfolds. Growing up, Ryan and I were actually close. Just 2 years apart, we spent our childhood creating elaborate backyard adventures, building forts, and defending them against imaginary invaders. He was the athletic one, captain of the football team, prom king, while I was the computer nerd who could fix anything electronic. Despite our different interests, there was mutual respect. At least, that's what I thought. When I turned 18, I headed to MIT while Ryan went to state on a football scholarship. During college, I started coding custom event management software after noticing how inefficiently our sorority planned events. What began as a side project soon became my passion. By senior year, I had 3 job offers from major tech companies, but I decided to bet on myself instead. After graduation, I launched Spectrum Tech Solutions from my tiny apartment. The first 2 years were brutal: ramen noodles for dinner, taking side gigs to pay rent, coding until 3 a.m. But by year 3, my event management platform started gaining traction among corporate clients. I developed proprietary hardware to complement the software: digital displays, interactive kiosks, smart lighting systems that could be controlled from a single dashboard. By year 5, I had 20 employees and a real office in downtown Boston. Ryan initially seemed proud. "My sister, the tech genius," he'd tell his friends when I visited home. But something shifted as my company grew. His football career had peaked in college, and he settled into a sales job at a sporting goods company. A good job, but not the NFL career he dreamed about. Then Ryan met Cassandra. She came from a wealthy family, worked in fashion marketing, and had very specific ideas about social status. From our first meeting at a family dinner 3 years ago, I sensed her sizing me up. Despite my company's success, I didn't fit her image of prestige. I wore practical clothes, talked about servers and algorithms, and didn't care about the designer labels. She casually dropped into conversation. "So you work with computers?" she'd ask that first night, wrinkling her nose slightly. "She doesn't just work with computers," my dad had jumped in. "She runs her own company. Did you know her technology powered the governor's ball last month?" Cassandra had smiled tightly. "How interesting." After they got engaged, Ryan called to ask a small favor. Would my company handle the technology for their wedding? They wanted digital displays showing their love story, special lighting effects, a photo booth with instant social media uploads, and live streaming for guests who couldn't attend. "We're thinking something elegant but modern," Ryan explained. "Cassandra wants everything perfect." I should have recognized the red flag when he never mentioned payment. When I brought up my standard package rates, starting at $25,000 and going up depending on customization, there was an awkward silence. "I thought you'd want to do this for us as a gift," he finally said. "It's just pushing some buttons, right? Not like you have to buy them a washer and dryer. Just pushing some buttons." As if my team and I hadn't spent years developing this technology. But family is family. I agreed to provide services that would normally cost around $75,000, custom wedding website with RSVP tracking, digital displays throughout the venue, specialty lighting programming, sound engineering, live streaming setup, and our latest photo/video capture system that would normally be reserved for corporate clients with deep pockets. The next 6 months became increasingly frustrating. Cassandra second-guessed every suggestion I made. During planning meetings, she'd talk over me, dismiss my professional opinions, and make comments like, "It's cute that you take your little business so seriously." My parents never noticed the undercurrent. They were just happy their children were getting along, focused on their excitement about the wedding and potential future grandchildren. My dad, who had always been my biggest champion, seemed oblivious to how Ryan and Cassandra treated me. Nathan, my boyfriend of 2 years, wasn't oblivious. A financial analyst with a keen eye for human dynamics, he noticed immediately how they dismissed my expertise. "You realize what they're doing is disrespectful, right?" he asked after one particularly tense planning session. "They're treating you like a vendor they're not paying, not like family contributing a significant gift." "They're just stressed about the wedding," I defended, though I knew he was right. The final planning meeting was the worst. 1 week before the wedding, we gathered at the venue for a technical walkthrough. I brought Taylor, my lead engineer, to help map out equipment placement. "We'll need to position the main control hub here," I explained, pointing to a spot near the back of the reception area. "It needs to be accessible but unobtrusive." "That won't work," Cassandra said immediately. "That area needs to look perfect for photos." "We can disguise the equipment," I suggested. "We do this for high-end events all the time." Ryan cut in. "Just put it somewhere else, Mac. This isn't one of your corporate tech conventions." Taylor shot me a look, but I kept my composure. For 3 hours, every suggestion I made was rejected, every concern dismissed. When we finally discussed where my boyfriend and I would be seated, Cassandra barely looked up from her phone. "We've got you taken care of," she said vaguely. "Table 19. I should have asked for clarification then. But after hours of being undermined, I just wanted to escape. "They don't deserve what you're giving them," Taylor said as we loaded equipment back into the van. "This setup would cost most clients a fortune." "It's almost over," I replied. "Just get through the weekend." Little did I know how that weekend would change everything. Wedding day arrived with perfect early summer weather. My team and I got to the vineyard venue at 6 a.m., a full 9 hours before the ceremony. We unloaded 3 vans of equipment: servers, displays, specialty lighting rigs, camera systems, audio equipment, and began the painstaking process of setting everything up while remaining invisible. "Keep all cords hidden, all equipment disguised," I reminded my team of 5. "Remember, we're creating an experience, not showcasing technology." Taylor coordinated the lighting installation while I programmed the central system. By 10 a.m., we had the basics functioning: digital welcome signs displaying elegant animations of Ryan and Cassandra's names, ambient lighting adjusted to complement the natural surroundings, and the photo system ready for testing. The wedding planner, Madison, checked in periodically, clearly impressed by our efficiency. "This is amazing," she whispered when she saw the digital display showing a timeline of Ryan and Cassandra's relationship. "I've never worked with technology this sophisticated at a wedding." By noon, the venue had transformed. The rustic vineyard now featured subtle technological enhancements that elevated everything without drawing attention to themselves. Light patterns shifted gently across the reception tent ceiling, mimicking dappled sunlight. Digital photo frames around the property displayed rotating images of the couple. The ceremony arch was rigged with hidden speakers and lighting that would react dynamically during key moments. Ryan and Cassandra arrived separately around 1 p.m. Ryan gave me a distracted wave as he headed to the groom's suite. Cassandra walked past our main control area without acknowledgement, despite Taylor and me adjusting settings specifically for her bridal entrance. "Did she just pretend not to see us?" Taylor asked. "She's probably just focused on getting ready," I said, but even I didn't believe it. My parents arrived shortly after, my father immediately coming over to see what we'd created. "This is spectacular, Mackenzie," he said, examining a digital guest book where people could leave video messages. "Your mother and I are so proud of you." "Thanks, Dad," I replied, wishing he could see the full picture of how my contribution was being received. By 2 p.m., I needed to get ready myself. I left Taylor in charge and headed to a small side room where I'd stored my bridesmaid dress. Yes, despite everything, I was still a bridesmaid, though notably not the maid of honor. That was Cassandra's cousin who she'd only reconnected with after getting engaged. As I changed into my sage green dress, I reminded myself that today wasn't about me. I was here to support my brother, regardless of how his fiancée treated me. I applied my makeup carefully, styled my hair in the required updo, and tried to generate some genuine happiness for the occasion. Nathan arrived looking handsome in his suit, immediately picking up on my mood. "Everything okay?" he asked, kissing my cheek. "Just tired. We've been here since dawn." His eyes narrowed slightly. "And have they acknowledged any of your work?" I sighed. "Let's just try to enjoy the day, okay?" At 3 p.m., guests began arriving. Our welcome system worked flawlessly. Digital check-in stations helped people find their seat assignments, while the photo capture system automatically took stunning entrance shots that would be compiled into a gallery later. Several guests commented on the impressive technology, not realizing the creator was standing right there in a bridesmaid dress. The ceremony started at 3:30. I stood with the other bridesmaids, watching as our programmed lighting shifted subtly to highlight Cassandra walking down the aisle. The hidden speakers delivered crystal-clear audio of the string quartet without visible equipment. When they exchanged vows, the archway gently illuminated, creating a halo effect that would look magical in photos. It was, objectively, a beautiful ceremony. Even I felt emotional watching my brother commit to his new life, though a small part of me mourned the change in our relationship. After the ceremony, while the wedding party took photos, my team transitioned the space for the reception. Displays that had shown ceremony information now presented dinner menus and seating charts. The dance floor came alive with programmable lighting that would react to the music later. By 5 p.m., everything was ready for the reception. My team had performed flawlessly, creating a technological ecosystem that enhanced every aspect of the wedding while remaining largely invisible. I finally allowed myself to relax, excited to enjoy the dinner and celebration after working since dawn. "Let's find our seats," I told Nathan as guests began moving toward the reception tent. We approached the seating chart display, ironically, when I had programmed myself and located our names. Table 19. "That's strange," I said, looking at the table map. "That's not anywhere near family." We followed the table numbers through the beautifully arranged reception space. Tables 1, 5 surrounded the dance floor, the couple, immediate family, wedding party. Tables 6, 12 filled the main area. But as we continued walking, the numbers led us farther back, past tables of distant acquaintances and coworkers. Finally, we reached table 19. My heart sank as I realized its location, tucked against the wall directly beside a service entrance and supply closet. Server stations flanked both sides. The constant swing of kitchen doors would be right beside us all night. "This has to be a mistake," Nathan said, looking around. I stood frozen, staring at the tiny table that was practically in a hallway. After everything I'd contributed to this wedding, after working since dawn to create a magical experience, this was where they chose to put me? As the realization that this was intentional washed over me, I saw Ryan and Cassandra approaching, arm in arm, with matching expressions I can only describe as smug satisfaction. "You're set up near the service hallway," Ryan said with that unmistakable smirk, as Cassandra added, "Tech types like quiet." Their words hit like a physical blow. Not just because of the obvious insult of the seating arrangement, but because of the calculated cruelty behind it. They had deliberately placed me, their free technology provider, Ryan's sister, a bridesmaid, at the worst table possible, and they were proud of it. "You can't be serious," Nathan said, his voice tight with controlled anger. "After everything Mackenzie has done for your wedding?" Ryan shrugged. "Everyone has their assigned seats. We spent hours on the seating chart. Hours deciding to put your sister next to the kitchen?" Nathan countered. Cassandra's perfectly made-up face hardened. "We have 300 guests to accommodate. Not everyone gets a premium spot. Not everyone provided $75,000 worth of services for free." I finally spoke, my voice surprisingly steady despite the hurt churning inside me. "Oh, here we go." Ryan rolled his eyes. "Always keeping score, aren't you, Mac?" A server squeezed past us, bumping my shoulder as he carried a tray toward the main reception area. The service doors swung again, releasing kitchen noises and the smell of cooking food. "We should just leave," Nathan said quietly to me.
Part of me wanted to.
But another part, the part that had built a business from nothing, that had faced down doubtful investors and skeptical clients, refused to be so easily dismissed. "You know what? It's fine," I said, pulling out the wobbly chair and sitting down. "This is perfect, actually. I can keep an eye on all the technical systems from here." Ryan looked momentarily uncertain, perhaps expecting a bigger reaction. Cassandra tugged his arm. "We need to greet the Hamiltons," she said, and they walked away without another word. Nathan sat beside me, his face flushed with anger. "I can't believe them. After everything you've done." A few other guests began finding their way to table 19, a second cousin of Cassandra's who had brought an uninvited +1, an elderly great-uncle who was hard of hearing, and a college friend of Ryan's who had fallen out of favor after a business deal went south. It was clear this was the table for people they felt obligated to invite, but didn't actually want present. From our isolated position, I could see my parents at table 2, laughing with Cassandra's family, completely unaware of what had just transpired. The distance felt symbolic. Throughout dinner, servers continuously brushed past our table, sometimes bumping our chairs as they rushed in and out of the kitchen. The swinging door created a rhythmic whooshing sound that made conversation difficult. Every time it opened, bright fluorescent light from the kitchen temporarily flooded our corner, contrasting harshly with the romantic lighting I had programmed for the rest of the reception. "Are you okay?" Nathan asked during a rare moment when we weren't being jostled by passing staff. "I don't know," I answered honestly. The salmon on my plate remained untouched. "I keep thinking this must be some kind of mistake, but—" "It's not a mistake," he said firmly. "They did this deliberately, and it's unacceptable." The elderly great-uncle leaned toward me. "Are you the sister? The computer girl?" I nodded. "Beautiful wedding," he shouted over the kitchen noise. "All these fancy screens and lights. Someone must have paid a fortune." The irony wasn't lost on me. As dinner progressed, I watched the reception unfold from our remote vantage point. The digital displays showed highlights from the ceremony. The specialty lighting shifted to create a golden sunset effect across the main tables. The sound system delivered perfect audio levels despite the challenging acoustics of the tent. All systems running flawlessly, controlled by the dashboard on my tablet. Technology that was apparently worth using but not worth respecting. A kitchen worker emerged from the supply closet next to me, nearly hitting me with the door as he extracted extra tablecloths. He apologized profusely, clearly embarrassed by my placement. Something shifted inside me as I sat there, watching the celebration I had helped create for my banished corner. This wasn't just about a bad table assignment. This was the culmination of years of subtle dismissals and growing disrespect. This was my brother and his wife sending a clear message about how they valued me, not as family, not as a professional, but as someone to be used and discarded. I looked down at my tablet, where all the wedding technology was humming along perfectly under my control. Then I looked at Nathan, who had endured this treatment alongside me without complaint. "I think," I said slowly, "I'm done being the bigger person." I needed space to think. Excusing myself from the table, I slipped outside into the vineyard's landscaped garden. The early summer evening was beautiful. Fairy lights twinkled in the trees, connected to my control system, of course, and the sound of laughter and music spilled from the reception tent. From out here, everything looked magical, exactly what a dream wedding should be. I sat on a stone bench, trying to process my emotions. The hurt ran deep. This wasn't just about tonight. It was about the growing pattern of disrespect that had somehow become our normal. When had my brother started seeing me as someone to exploit rather than his sister? When had I started accepting it? Nathan found me a few minutes later, 2 glasses of champagne in hand. He sat beside me without speaking, just offering quiet solidarity. "I don't want to ruin their wedding," I finally said. "They don't seem to have the same concern about ruining your experience," he pointed out. "They've taken advantage of your generosity and expertise, then literally pushed you into a corner." He was right. I thought about all the slights over the past few years. Cassandra introducing me at family gatherings as Ryan's sister, who does computer stuff, never by name or actual profession. Ryan asking for small tweaks to their wedding website that actually required days of additional coding, then acting like I was being difficult when I explained the work involved. The planning meetings where my professional input was repeatedly dismissed, despite being an expert in event technology. The comment Cassandra had made to her mother, not realizing I could hear. We're saving so much money using Mackenzie instead of a real event production company. A real company. As if mine wasn't real, despite its success and growing client list. What would you do if they were clients? Nathan asked, cutting through my thoughts.
Client?
I repeated.
Yes.
If they weren't family but clients who treated you and your work this way, what would your response be? I didn't hesitate. I'd terminate the contract and withdraw services. So why is it acceptable because they're family? It was a simple question that crystallized everything. Why was I accepting professional disrespect just because it came from my brother? Why did family ties obligate me to donate $75,000 worth of services only to be literally seated in a service hallway? It's not acceptable, I said, straightening my posture. It's really not. So, what do you want to do? Nathan asked. I considered my options carefully. I could confront them directly, but that would create a scene at their wedding. I could pack up and leave, but that felt too emotional and impulsive. Or I could respond professionally to an unprofessional situation. I need to call Taylor, I said, already reaching for my phone. My lead engineer answered immediately. Everything okay, boss? I need you at the control hub. We're implementing Protocol Amber. There was a pause. Are you sure? That's never been used outside of simulations. Protocol Amber was our emergency withdrawal procedure, developed for situations where clients violated contracts in ways that required us to reduce services while maintaining safety and basic functionality. We created it after a particularly difficult client had refused to pay the final installment but still expected full service. We'd never actually needed to use it until now. I'm sure, I said. Begin phase 1 in 15 minutes. I'll take responsibility. Understood. Anything else? I thought for a moment. Ensure all safety systems remain fully operational. This is about making a point, not creating hazards. After hanging up, I explained the plan to Nathan. He listened carefully, then nodded. It's measured and proportional, he said. And frankly, more gracious than they deserve. We returned to our table by the supply closet. The speeches were about to begin, with the father of the bride taking the microphone on the small stage I had helped design. I sat down, smoothed my bridesmaid dress, and took out my phone. With steady fingers, I typed a message to our company command center. Implement Protocol Amber. Authorization. Mackenzie Taylor, CEO. As I hit send, I felt a strange mixture of regret and relief. This wasn't how I had expected the evening to go, but sometimes respect needs to be reclaimed, even from family. The response came immediately. Protocol Amber acknowledged and initiated. Phase 1 commencing. I put my phone away and picked up my champagne glass, ready to watch as my carefully designed systems began their choreographed withdrawal. The father of the bride was midway through an emotional speech about his daughter when the first subtle changes began. The special spotlight that should have been highlighting him flickered almost imperceptibly before stabilizing at 80% of its previous brightness. Not enough for most guests to notice immediately, but a definite downgrade in quality. Next, the background music that had been providing perfect ambient accompaniment faded slightly, the sophisticated audio mixing becoming more basic. The digital displays showing real-time photo collages of the ceremony began updating less frequently, the transitions between images becoming simpler. These were the opening moves of Protocol Amber, subtle reductions in service quality that maintained basic functionality while systematically withdrawing premium features. To the average guest, nothing would seem obviously wrong, just slightly less magical than before. I watched as Cassandra, standing beside her father during his speech, began to glance around with a small frown forming. She was noticing. As someone obsessed with perfection, she would be the first to sense the diminishing quality. My phone vibrated with a text from Taylor. Phase 1 complete. Phase 2 ready on your command. I replied, proceed with Phase 2. As the speeches continued, Phase 2 began. The live stream for remote guests switched from our premium multi-camera setup to a single static shot. The specialty lighting that had been programmed to create different moods throughout the evening defaulted to a standard pattern rather than the custom sequence we had designed. The photo booth in the corner, which had been capturing stunning portraits with specialty filters and instant uploads, now operated with basic settings and delayed processing. Ryan, who had just stepped up for his groom's speech, definitely noticed something was off. The spotlight that should have followed him smoothly now jumped slightly as he moved. The background music that should have faded perfectly during emotional moments remained at a constant volume. His eyes darted toward the tech table where Taylor sat, then searched the room until he found me at my isolated table. I kept my expression neutral as I sipped my champagne. Madison, the wedding planner, approached our table with quick, nervous steps. "Mackenzie, something's wrong with the technical elements," she whispered urgently. "The displays are glitching, and the lighting sequence isn't following the program."
"I'm aware," he replied calmly.
"Can you fix it? The first dance is coming up, and all the special effects need to be perfect." I placed my napkin beside my plate and stood. "I'm afraid I've had to cancel the contract." Madison's eyes widened.
"What?"
"You can't. This is your brother's wedding." "Yes, it is. And I've been seated by the supply closet after providing $75,000 worth of services for free." Her face fell as understanding dawned. "I didn't know. I wasn't involved in the seating arrangements." "It's not your fault," I assured her. "But actions have consequences." By now, Phase 2 was fully implemented. Guests were beginning to notice the technical downgrade. Phones coming out to take photos since the automated system wasn't capturing as many, confused glances at displays that had become more basic, whispers about the music quality. Ryan finished his speech and quickly headed in my direction, his face a mixture of confusion and growing anger. Cassandra followed close behind, her perfectly contoured features arranged in an expression of outrage. "What the hell is going on?" Ryan demanded when he reached our table. "Everything's malfunctioning." I remained seated, meeting his gaze steadily. "Nothing is malfunctioning. I've simply canceled the contract." "What contract?" He sputtered. "You're my sister. This is my wedding." I took out my phone and showed him the screen with the message. "Contract canceled due to client disrespect." "Are you serious right now?" Cassandra hissed, keeping her voice low to avoid drawing attention. "You're ruining our wedding because you didn't like your table?" "I'm not ruining anything," I replied evenly. "All essential systems are still operational. Lights work, music plays, photos exist. I've simply withdrawn the premium services that were being provided as a professional courtesy, a courtesy that wasn't reciprocated." Ryan's face flushed dark red. "This is ridiculous. Turn everything back on right now." "I don't think I will," I said, surprising myself with how calm I felt. "You've made it very clear how you value my contribution, both professional and personal. I'm simply adjusting my services to match." Cassandra leaned in, her voice a venomous whisper. "Do you know how many important people are here? My father's business associates? My Instagram followers? This reflects on us." "Yes," I agreed. "It does reflect on you. Your choices reflect on you." Madison hovered nervously nearby as Ryan ran his hands through his carefully styled hair. "Look, if this is about the seating, we can move you. There's space at table 6. "It's not about the seating," I said, though of course it partially was. "It's about respect. It's about recognizing value. It's about treating family as more than convenient resources to exploit." Nathan, who had remained silent until now, spoke up. "Every vendor here is being paid for their services except Mackenzie. And she's the only one seated by a supply closet." Ryan shot him a glare. "Stay out of this. It's family business." "He is family," I countered. "Or at least, he treats me with respect, which seems to be the minimum requirement for family in my book." My phone vibrated again. Taylor was texting. "Phase 3 ready. Awaiting authorization." Phase 3 would be the most noticeable yet, reverting all systems to their most basic functionality, removing all custom programming while maintaining safety and essential operations. I looked at my brother, the The person I'd built forts with, the person who'd once threatened a bully who made me cry, the person who now couldn't even see how deeply he'd hurt me, and made my decision. 1 minute, I told Ryan and Cassandra. You have 1 minute to decide. Decide what? Ryan asked. Whether you want to continue with basic services, or whether you want the wedding you promised your guests. Let's not do this here, Ryan said through clenched teeth, glancing around at the nearby tables where guests were beginning to notice the confrontation. We moved to a small anteroom off the main reception space, a place designed for the wedding party to take breaks during the long evening. The irony wasn't lost on me that I was finally being included in a space meant for important people, only because I had forced the issue. As soon as the door closed behind us, Cassandra exploded. How dare you pull this stunt at our wedding, she shouted, her carefully controlled facade crumbling. Do you know how long we've planned this day? How perfect everything was supposed to be. Perfect for whom? I asked quietly. Certainly not for your technology provider. You're not a provider, you're family, Ryan countered, as if that explained everything. Is that why you seated me by the kitchen? Because I'm family? Ryan ran his hands through his hair again, messing up the expensive styling. It was just a seating chart, Mackenzie. Not everything is about you. You're right, it's not about me, I agreed. It's about patterns of behavior. It's about how you've both treated me for years, culminating in this particularly blatant display of disrespect. So, you're sabotaging our wedding? Cassandra's voice rose higher. Over a perceived slight? Nothing is being sabotaged, I corrected. All essential services are still functioning. You're just not receiving the premium experience you didn't pay for and clearly don't value. The door opened, and our parents entered, faces etched with concern. What's going on? My father asked. The DJ says there's some problem with the technical systems. Ask your daughter, Cassandra spat. She's throwing a tantrum and ruining everything. My mother looked at me with confusion. Mackenzie? What's happening? For a moment, I considered backing down. These were my parents who had always supported me. This was my brother's wedding day. Was I really going to stand my ground and potentially damage these relationships? Then I remembered all the times I had backed down before. All the times I had accepted less than I deserved because it was easier than confrontation. All the times my professional accomplishments had been minimized while I smiled and pretended it didn't hurt. Ryan and Cassandra seated me at a table next to the supply closet, I explained calmly. After I provided all the technology for this wedding as a gift worth approximately $75,000. My parents looked shocked. That can't be right, my mother said, looking at Ryan. You wouldn't do that to your sister. Ryan shifted uncomfortably. The seating chart was complicated. We had to consider a lot of factors. Like making sure your sister was as far from the celebration as possible? Nathan asked pointedly. My father's expression darkened. Is this true, Ryan? Before he could answer, the door opened again and Taylor slipped in, tablet in hand. Sorry to interrupt, she said, but I need a decision on how to proceed. We're holding at phase 2, but the DJ is getting nervous about the first dance lighting effects. Who is this? My mother asked. I'm Taylor Chen, lead engineer at Spectrum Tech Solutions. She introduced herself professionally. We're waiting on CEO authorization for next steps. The formal introduction seemed to finally drive home what was happening. This wasn't just a family squabble. This was a business decision being made by a company founder. Madison, the wedding planner, joined our growing group, her clipboard clutched tightly. The band is asking about the special entrance they were supposed to have with the LED floor panels. They say it's not working properly. It's not, I confirmed. That's a premium feature that's been withdrawn. Cassandra turned to my parents, clearly hoping to find allies. Do you see what she's doing? She's holding our wedding hostage. I forcing professional bundaries. I correcte. Something I should have done months ago. What exactly do you want, Mackenzie? My father asked, always the practical one looking for solutions. Acknowledgement and respect, I said simply. Recognition of my professional contribution to this event and an apology for the deliberate disrespect of the seating arrangement. That's it. Ryan scoffed. You want us to say sorry and thank you in the middle of our wedding? Publicly, I clarified. The disrespect was public. The acknowledgement should be too. Absolutely not, Cassandra snapped. I'm not going to grovel at my own wedding. Nathan, who had been quietly observing, finally spoke up. No one is asking you to grovel. Just to acknowledge the significant contribution Mackenzie and her team have made and to apologize for seating her by the service entrance. It was just a table assignment. Cassandra insisted. It was deliberate, Nathan countered. And we all know it. Madison nervously interjected. The first dance is scheduled in 10 minutes. We really need to resolve this. My mother turned to Ryan, her expression suddenly stern. Ryan James Taylor, did you deliberately seat your sister by the kitchen after she provided all this technology for free? Something in her tone must have triggered childhood memories of being caught misbehaving, because Ryan's defensiveness crumbled slightly. It wasn't.
I didn't.
He stammered, then sighed. Cassandra thought it would be funny. All eyes turned to the bride, whose face flushed beneath her makeup. It was just a joke, she said weakly. Tech people are always hidden away at events anyway. My daughter is not tech people, my father said, his voice unusually hard. She's a successful business owner who has generously contributed to making your wedding spectacular. And this is how you thank her. The room fell silent. I had never expected my parents to understand so quickly or defend me so firmly. Taylor cleared her throat. Decision time, boss. The schedule is tight. I looked at Ryan and Cassandra, standing together, yet somehow diminished from the confident couple who had smirked at my table assignment earlier. Here are my terms, I said clearly. During your thank you speech, you will specifically acknowledge Spectrum Tech Solutions' contribution to your wedding and apologize for the seating arrangement. Do this, and all premium services will be fully restored for the remainder of the evening. And if we refuse? Cassandra challenged, though with less conviction than before. Then you continue with basic services only, I shrugged. Functional, but not special. Madison, practical as ever, turned to the couple. I strongly recommend accepting these terms. The difference in quality is already noticeable to guests. As if to emphasize her point, we could hear murmurs from the main space about the lighting that had dimmed further during our conversation. Ryan and Cassandra exchanged looks, having one of those silent conversations couples develop. Fine, Ryan finally said. We'll acknowledge the technology and apologize for the seating. Sincerely, I added. Not sarcastically or with backhanded compliments. Sincerely, he agreed, looking genuinely chastened for the first time. Taylor, I turned to my engineer, prepared to restore all systems to full functionality on my signal. She nodded and slipped out of the room. My mother approached and squeezed my hand. I'm sorry we didn't realize what was happening earlier. It's okay, I said, suddenly feeling drained from the confrontation. Family dynamics can be complicated. As everyone prepared to return to the reception, Ryan hung back, gesturing for me to wait. When we were alone, he sighed heavily. I really messed up, didn't I? Yes, I said simply. You did. He struggled to find words. Seeing you so successful, while It's been hard, Mac. You were always the smart one, but I used to be special too. You're still my brother, I said, softer now. That's always been special to me. I've been jealous, he admitted, the words seeming to physically pain him. Your company, your confidence, even Nathan. You have everything figured out. I laughed, a short, surprised sound. I don't have anything figured out, Ryan. I work constantly, I make mistakes daily, and half the time I'm terrified my business will collapse. I just don't show it. He looked at me with new understanding. I really am sorry about the table. It was mean and petty. Yes, it was. I agreed, not letting him off too easily. And we'll talk more about all of this later. But right now, you have a wedding to get back to. As we rejoined the reception, I texted Taylor. Restore all systems to full functionality. Protocol Amber officially terminated. Within moments, the venue transformed back to its full glory. The lighting brightened and resumed its sophisticated patterns. The displays returned to their high resolution, seamlessly transitioning content. The sound system once again provided perfect acoustic balance. And as Ryan and Cassandra took the microphone for their scheduled thank you speech, I was moved from table 19 to a hastily created space at table 4, right beside my parents. The reception continued with all technology restored to its full glory. Guests who had noticed the temporary downgrade now marveled at the sophisticated systems as they returned to peak performance. The dance floor lit up with programmable patterns that followed the dancers' movements. The photo booth produced stunning portraits with instant social media integration. The live stream for remote guests switched back to multi-camera coverage with professional mixing. When the time came for Ryan and Cassandra's thank you speech, I felt a flutter of anxiety. Would they follow through on their promise or attempt to minimize the situation? Ryan cleared his throat as he addressed the crowded reception. Cassandra, and I want to thank everyone who helped make this day special. He began with standard pleasantries, thanking parents, the wedding party, and various vendors. Then he paused, looking directly at me. We especially want to thank my sister, Mackenzie Taylor, and her company, Spectrum Tech Solutions, for providing all the amazing technology you see around you. The lighting, displays, sound system, photo experiences, all of this represents tens of thousands of dollars of premium services that Mackenzie provided as her gift to us. Cassandra stepped forward, her expression composed but sincere. We also want to apologize to Mackenzie. We initially seated her in an inappropriate location that didn't reflect her importance to us or to this celebration. It was disrespectful, and we're deeply sorry. The apology was brief, but genuine. I nodded in acknowledgement, surprised by the emotion that welled up in my throat. It wasn't just about the seating or even the wedding, it was about finally being seen and valued. After their speech, the party kicked into high gear. With the conflict resolved, I was able to relax and even enjoy myself. Several guests approached me during the evening, curious about the technology and impressed when they learned I was the founder of the company behind it. You created all this? One of Cassandra's father's business associates asked, gesturing at the interactive displays. We've been looking for solutions like this for our corporate events. Do you have a card? By the end of the night, I had distributed a dozen business cards and scheduled 2 consultation meetings. An unexpected business development for my brother's wedding. Life has a strange way of working out sometimes. As the evening wound down, I found myself sitting at a quiet table with my parents. I wish you had told us how they were treating you, my mother said, taking my hand. We never would have allowed that seating arrangement if we'd known. I'm a grown woman, Mom, I said gently. I shouldn't need my parents to fight my battles. Family dynamics don't magically resolve when you grow up, my father pointed out. Sometimes they get more complicated. The next morning, while most wedding guests were sleeping off the celebration, I met with my parents for breakfast at their hotel. Without the pressure of the wedding, we were able to have a more meaningful conversation about what had transpired. Ryan has always struggled with your success, my father admitted. Not because he doesn't love you, but because he measures himself against you. That's his problem, not mine, I pointed out. True, my mother agreed. But understanding it might help rebuild your relationship, if that's what you want. I'm not sure what I want right now, I said honestly. Yesterday made me realize how much I've been accepting treatment I wouldn't tolerate from anyone else, just because it's family. Over the following weeks, I maintained polite distance from Ryan and Cassandra as they honeymooned and settled into married life. Nathan supported my decision to establish clearer boundaries, even as he encouraged me to remain open to reconciliation if genuine change occurred. Families are complicated, he said one evening as we discussed the situation. But they're also not entitled to unlimited chances. My business continued to thrive, partially thanks to connections made at the wedding. I implemented new policies at Spectrum Tech Solutions. Family discounts were now clearly defined, contracts were required for all jobs regardless of relationship, and my value as founder and CEO was non-negotiable. 6 months after the wedding, Ryan reached out and asked to meet for coffee. Alone, without Cassandra. I agreed with cautious optimism. I've been doing a lot of thinking, he said after we'd exchanged awkward pleasantries. about how I've treated you, especially in the last few years. And I prompted when he paused. And I've been a jealous jerk, he admitted. Your success made me feel inadequate, so I tried to diminish it instead of celebrating it. The honesty surprised me. That couldn't have been an easy realization. It wasn't, he agreed. But the wedding, what happened there, it forced me to look at myself in ways I'd been avoiding. What about Cassandra? I asked. She's your wife now. We can't just pretend that dynamic doesn't exist. Ryan sighed. She and I have had some difficult conversations too. She comes from a family where status and appearances are everything. But she's working on it. We both are. I didn't promise immediate forgiveness or a return to our previous relationship. Instead, I offered something more valuable, honesty. I need to see consistent change, Ryan. Not just words, but actions that show respect for me as your sister and as a professional. He nodded, understanding the boundary I was setting. I'd like the chance to show you that change. Over the next several months, our relationship began a slow healing process. Ryan made efforts to acknowledge my accomplishments and support my business publicly. Cassandra, while never becoming my closest friend, demonstrated more respect in our interactions. The experience taught me valuable lessons about self-worth and healthy boundaries. I realized that tolerating disrespect doesn't preserve relationships. It damages them by establishing unhealthy patterns. Standing up for myself hadn't destroyed my family ties. It had created the possibility for more authentic ones. My business continues to grow, with clients who value both the technology we provide and the expertise behind it. Nathan and I are discussing our future together, building a relationship based on mutual respect and support. And while my relationship with Ryan and Cassandra will never be what it once was, it has evolved into something more honest. Sometimes, the most important connections in our lives require disruption before they can become healthy. Sometimes, pulling the plug is exactly what's needed to restore power to the right places. Have you ever had to set difficult boundaries with family members? Did you struggle with being valued for your professional skills by those closest to you? Share your experiences in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please like and subscribe for more real-life lessons about standing up for yourself with grace and strength. Remember, respecting yourself is the first step to earning respect from others. Thank you for joining me today, and may you always have the courage to know your worth.